There's always got to be a dog in the meeting. I love that. All right, I'm going to go to screen share now. And we're going to take a look at the article. And this was part of, sometimes folks get confused about these headings. Novice and Beyond a Survival Guide was the name of the column, guys. So there's lots of the articles. I had somebody contact me and say, you've done Novice and Beyond 3 times. No, it's the name of the column. And the wonderful folks at Clean Run were generous and let me play with different names. And then sometimes I didn't have a column name. So this is called Training Efficiently in Class and in Private. And when I was choosing which article to do, and I saw the title, sometimes I remember the articles better, some better than others. And I wasn't actually thinking that this was exactly what it was. And I like what it is, because it isn't just the common things that you would think about training efficiently. Or how to, it's not just about efficiency. It goes a little bit deeper than that, as I think a lot of my subjects do. Is sort of what I do, and what I like is to get to the nitty gritty. So you guys, if I had a nickel, and I wrote that in the article, for when people say, well, I don't know what to do. And or in the description, I mean, when I wrote that, I was thinking about people saying, I don't know what to practice when I get to the practice field. And it was what I meant. I get that all the time. They're like, well, I get there, and basically what happens is they just fart around. The dog gets tired, or they get tired, and they go home. They do some jumps, and they remember to work on their contacts, and they remember to work on the weave poles. So they do some weave poles up and down, and maybe there's something numbered. I'm talking about a rental, or even if you've got stuff in your backyard, and that's good. That is good. It is good. Anything you're doing with your dog, don't let me rain on your parade. But I also, when folks show up for their lesson and I'm like, well, did you work on that thing I suggested that you work on the last 12 times we got together? And they say, well, no, I get to the field. And basically they're forgetting, or they'll also say, I remembered it, but I went to set it up, and I remembered that I was supposed to work on pinwheels, but I didn't remember what to do with them. So that's a twofold issue. One part of that is before you leave your lesson, say, what does working on pinwheels mean? Does that just mean going around on the left and going around on the right? Or, I would say it would mean turning direction on the first and the third jump, and turning the dog in towards you and out towards you, and turning once in, and the second jump turn out, and lead in with a tunnel, lead in from the poles, end up on the inside and the outside. And a lot of that stuff is in the 1 Jump 2 Jump workbook. I know a lot of people use the 1 Jump 2 Jump workbook, who I'm excited to say, I think I told you last week, it'll be my second edition. So I'm working on modifying that and getting it a little bit up to date. The drills won't change. The drills are timeless, but the placement, my timing requirements for drills has changed. So that's one thing of what do I do? But the article goes into another what do I do? And this is the big one. And that's what do I do when whatever I'm doing, whether it was a well thought out, sophisticated plan like Sandy wants, or I am just farting around, but what do I do when the dog makes the mistake? And I find that most folks, you guys, that's the thing I really hear. What do? I don't know what to do. And when, the recall is a real common one. I'll do lessons with folks and on a recall, and then the next week they come and maybe it's improved or maybe it isn't. And they'll say, I'm like, well, what do you do when you don't get the response you want? And it's like, I can't remember what to do. And I think it's a combination of either not making notes, or it's trying what I said to do and having limited success. And I think the most challenging part of dog training, and this is why I think most people need to work with somebody, is knowing when you are on the wrong track with a solution. Like, like, I don't know, there's famous people that say right before, they made a million, you can't be a winner unless you failed 1,000 times. And the solution is always, just after the biggest failure of all. But with dogs, we get so worried about their feelings and their uninspiring them and taking care of their psyche. And I think we should. I think it's an obligation, but it's almost like we treat them as if they don't. It's almost funny. It's almost like if they're not instantly brilliant, we treat them as if they're idiots. And forgive me, because I know that's not everybody, and I'm talking in broad generalizations here. But I find that a student will say, well, I tried it and it didn't work. And it's like, well, how many times did you try it? And when it didn't work, how did it not work? And then what did you do? And then what did the dog do when you did that? And then what did you do when the dog did that? And it's following this thread of this conversation that you're having with the dog. And so when a trainer or a book or an internet offers you a solution that makes sense to you, it feels right in your heart, and it makes sense in your head, and you decide to adopt it, it's important that you know from that source when to throw in the towel. I could say that things get, like, who knows? It would be a valid question. Should this behavior actually be getting worse before it starts to get better? Or is this supposed to take a month? Or how much progress should I see? Should I have gotten instant full success and I no longer talk in days. I talk in terms of sessions. Because if I say something should take a week, I don't know if you trained once that week or if you're training 3 times a day. So that's another way to communicate. I've been working on this for 2 months. I trained 4 times, or sometimes, a client will say, I've been working on this for, 2 months and 3 times a day. And it's like, oh shit, we're on the wrong track if you've not seen progress. So I think any plan that you are implementing, you should have some degree based on your dog's learning history and your dog's breed, what type of results you should be looking for. So part of this article, this training efficiently, is about being efficient with your response to an error, so that you are operating within the realm of a language your dog understands. I just can't talk about dog training without talking again, because it's so prevalent. It's a huge percentage of folks that I work with. As soon as their dog doesn't understand something, they change the cue. Classic examples of dogs on the start line and they give the release word. Dog doesn't move. Come on. Now the dog just said, I'm not sure what okay means. So if you want the dog to understand what okay means, or free or break, let's just stick with that. Let's not go to come on. Let's go. Now that's 6 cues, physical and verbal, and split. So the dog is probably going to go, one of those look like something I came to and got a cookie to last week. I'll go for it. And they're further away from understanding the cue that they said, oh, I'm having a brain fart. What does that mean again? So, efficiency, training efficiently in class. Yeah. Get on the start line. Yeah. Set bars. Yeah. Be to class on time. But it's also about the interaction, the efficient interaction that you're having with your dog, the cues you're giving, and the response to the questions. And I think I'll be committed to talking about answering dogs' questions every time I talk to anybody about training. So this first couple of paragraphs, you guys, was the introduction to the whole Novice and Beyond Survival Guide. And I don't know if that was clear or not, but it really wasn't about the subject here. So, so when I'm talking about, you guys, when I leave a show or a training session and I get in my car or I'm walking to my house, I'm not thinking about dinner. Well, sometimes I'm thinking about dinner, but usually I'm thinking about my responses to my dog's questions and what was effective. Because if I respond to a dog's question and I get the dog right back on track, that's yippee-yi-yay for both of us. But if the dogs had more questions, what a lot of novice people do is that's when they start getting pissed. You know, it's like, you know, the old, he knew it yesterday. And my least favorite current term in dog training is he's just blowing me off. He might be blowing you off for good reason, because you keep switching from Japanese to French to German and won't stick with one stinking language. So, but I'm thinking about, would the rate of reinforcement, should I have been feeding more, or did I have that rate of reinforcement too high? Was my dog in a show me the money thing? I can't think I can't get to this next step of this problem unless I'm getting copious amounts of food, because that's how it's been with this particular skill. So do I need to decrease the rate of reinforcement? What was it? Was it too much or too little? And, you know, this is evaluation after the fact. And then once I determine that, because I'm not going to remember what happened the next day, I have to do it then. Then when I train the next time, when I'm going to class, I can refresh those decisions. So the distractions, like, what do you think? Do you say, he's got to learn how to work under distractions? He's got to learn how to do that. I can't decrease the distractions. What if there's a chicken farm at the dog show? What if there's this? What if there's that? But so could you have hung in there longer and worked through those distractions? Or did you have other things? Was he just a little slow, or was he really checking out? What was the degree of the issue to where you did need to make it easy? That's the other biggest challenge that you have as your dog's teacher. And I've gotten in trouble for using these words before, and I'm going to have to stop doing it at some point. But I have this not so, I'm always saying, don't dumb it down. And all I mean by that is, don't be too quick to make things, don't be too quick to make things too easy. So I always ask it when I'm teaching, you know, if your dog isn't getting something, let me rephrase that. I've always taught for decades. I would teach, you did it twice, he doesn't get it, change it up. Come on, wake up, smell the coffee. So, but then I thought, boy, if somebody was teaching me something, maybe how to pronounce a word in a foreign language, and they said, all right, I'm going to tell you how this sounds. Go, you got 2 chances. So do you guys see my email now? I don't know. Do you guys still see the article? Somebody just yell at me.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. My computer did a change. So I forgot what I was saying. Does anybody remember what I was saying?
If you do it, somebody told you 2 times.
Oh yeah, somebody told me 2 times. So 2 times isn't enough for me. I want more chances than 2. And once I realized that, well, how many chances do you want, Sandy? Well, how about 4 or 5? And I came up with that 4 or 5. My life changed. And now, before I start changing the rate of reinforcement, before I start removing distractions or adding distractions, if the dog is struggling, I'm not going to add distractions if he's struggling. But before I start making changes, I'm going to ask that dog 5 times, can you access this? Like, if I have my hand up and I'm running and that jump is 8 feet away, you missed it once. All right, you missed it again. If I keep doing that same thing, guess what that thing is? Exactly what I want it to be. Exactly how I want finished product handling to be. Are you going to put 2 and 2 together, that what you're doing running around the jump isn't what I want? And you know what? 99, I don't know, I'm not a statistician, a lot of the time. The dog will do it on 4 or 5 and he couldn't do it on 2. He accessed the learning. He was doing wait, wait, don't tell me. So all these things that I'm saying to consider, sometimes I'm considering them after the session. I can sure take that break. And I said I should have put that on the list. That should have been on the list. Every other thing. Should I increase the rate of reinforcement or take a break? Should I decrease the rate of reinforcement or take a break? Should I change the distractions or take a break? Can't go wrong taking a break. Um, uh, and I can give it the thing a break and go train something else if if my dog's connection to me isn't the thing that we're talking about. I'm talking about performance issue. He's missing a weep pull. He's knocking a bar. He's running around a jump. He's missing a contact. Increasing the value of the treat. I would rather you start with the higher value treat than take the young dog and say, don't like this. How about if I get you something better? Don't like that either. How about if I get you something better? That can be a problem. And I like working a hungrier dog, hungry for you. So maybe your dog and you are separated for some time before the lesson. Would a half hour make a difference to your dog? Would a half a day make a difference to your dog? I have one dog that acts like I have come home from the Greenland ice caps after 6 months every time I walk in the room. And I have another one that I'm lucky to arouse a heartbeat if I've been gone for 2 weeks. So, that's between you and your dog, how much absence of you makes their heart grow fonder. And then this whole thing of, is it reasonable? You guys, almost everybody I work with, now I'm wondering if I'm lying or not. Again, you guys, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've worked with lots and lots of people. So I do get to use those terms. When I say lots of people, I mean lots. I mean hundreds, thousands. This has been a full-time job. I haven't been just a lecturer. I've been in the trenches teaching multiple classes every single week for decades. So, so this whole business of, is this thing too hard or too easy? And it isn't easy. And you got to think, you got to really read that dog. Again, I like the article because this isn't your classic efficient article. It's about, if you can address your dog's questions efficiently, if you always know what you're going to do if your dog misses a weep hole, and you go right from that missed pull to that thing, if you know exactly how you communicate when he misses a contact, if you can, whatever you do, pick up more jumps, bring the dog around, entertain him while you reload your treats, and do what I call a short one, a little mini teaching drill. You're not going to be going through the Rolodex. Well, I guess I could try this, or I guess I could try that, or I guess I could try that. And this is about knowing your dog. Removing momentum. So there again, we're talking about performance challenges. This could apply to contacts. It could apply to weave poles. It could apply to bars. So decreasing the amount of space and approach to that obstacle can help the dog understand. What we do to dogs is we say, there's 2 things I want from you. I want speed and I want accuracy. Now, how does that dog know which one is more important to you at any given second? Not even day, not even course. You got 20 some obstacles on the course, and you may be telling the dog, in my opinion, when we take our attention off of something and we go running for something else, the dog goes, got it. This is the time where you just want me to catch up with you. And accuracy takes a second seat. And your bar comes down and they miss that pull entry, or they jump over that contact. Could those things be trained so well that you can dash away and not put your attention on them and have the dog perform perfectly? Yeah. But lots of us have jobs and lives, and I kind of like the idea of saying to my dog, I'll stay with you mentally. I can be on the other side of the ring and do it. but I'm not gonna, I like the word, so the word is connected, stay connected. We all hear that all the time. The other side of that word is what? Abandon. So then we're wondering, do we have the right to abandon? And, should the dog, I love when the conversation goes to what the dog should do and what the dog should be able to do. I mean, your dog is your dog, and his capabilities have a lot to do with you, and they have a lot to do with him. So this whole business of, is this too hard? And a lot of times, a lot of dogs quit working. I just learned something incredible. I've been working with Becky, that's in the class now with my little. I've got this new little speed demon hot shot mixed breed sport dog bred for flyball, and he's got to think with his head engaged, because I'm going to be behind. He's got to be able to be himself. He's sleeping so peacefully right now. I hate to say anything that doesn't make him sound like an angel, and hear and listen. So he can't just be screaming and being a whirly dervish. And so as I broke things down, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down. Classic thing to go to when you're not getting what you want. Break it down. Guess what? All his stuff was about, I'm sick of this now. And I just started doing this most elaborate full handout, and he's silent. I was boring him. He didn't look bored, because he loves to work, and he did not look bored. There's nobody that would have said, oh, that's a bored dog you got right there. But that's what I finally figured out. And I'm a pretty smart dog trainer. So what I'm saying is, the person, you, me, might not know a lot of these questions we have to ask of the dogs. So that was kind of back to, is it too much too soon? And then this taking momentum out and putting momentum back in. You guys, some dogs, there's a lot of performance that is based on collection. And that's another thing. Oops. I don't know how to keep the lights on. That's another thing that is a thing with trainers, is what's really in the way. So my dog is missing his contact. He's knocking the bar. He's knocking the weave poles. I don't have you on chat yet. You could yell out if you want to unmute yourself. I'll take a drink of water and give you guys a chance to holler at me. What is the one common thing that would cause all three of those things? A knocked bar, a missed weave pull, and a missed contact. What could that dog not know how to do?
Collect.
Yeah, good. Who said that?
I did.
Good. Collect. So teaching your dog to collect for those obstacles automatically, and or with a cue, is maybe where you need to stop and work on your timing. And I'm not saying if he has a collection issue that all three of those things would be a problem. So so you guys, your dog has the right to have a bad mental day. Animals are designed to cover up injury. Mother Nature made animals be able to fake pain. And I hear people say, oh, he's such a drama queen, or he's such a wimp. And I've said it. I've had dogs that seem like they're like that. But you know what? I don't want any doctor telling me, what I think hurts and what is painful to me. And I've had them, and it's another one of those things that every time somebody says they're a drama queen or whatever, it's like, all I can think of is, what if they're not? Yeah, maybe it seems like they are, but maybe they're not. So when those things are happening, that's why I'm talking about getting curious. Get curious about, have I done my job teaching collection to the poles? Have I done my job teaching this angle with this much momentum? Okay, you did. Good for you. When was the last time your dog saw it? And when was the last time you did agility? And did he get too much exercise yesterday? Is he tight? Is he not putting out? Is he knocking bars and not putting out for you because you did a big hike yesterday? So, anyways, you guys, training is complicated and there is so much fun and so much beauty in taking on being a puzzle solver for your dogs. Um, uh, and then this whole business about the brain, that's what I started talking about when I get done training and I'm thinking about what I got that I loved, what I got that I didn't love, what I got that I absolutely cannot live with, and how I approached it at the time. And and then this back to this original thing I was talking about right track, wrong track. Am I on the right track and I've not been on it long enough, or am I on the wrong track? And I have so many students go right down that train track and take both of those forks. I can't count. If you ask me, do I have more students that stay on the wrong track too long versus students that jump the track too soon, I would not be able to answer the question. I just know that it is the trainer's dilemma. And again, going to the source of who taught you, you got to work, you got to ask somebody that's done that technique on a bazillion dogs. And they can tell you, oh, no, 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 that dog should be picking that up. That's not one of those things that it gets worse before it gets better. Or no, if he understands this particular, the collection, no, if he understands collection, that's not going to be there. So a lot of times it's the right track and it's a perfectly acceptable solution, but there's a piece in the foundation that's missing. And it doesn't matter how good the track is, dog doesn't understand that one element, it's not going to take you anywhere. So dog training can make any crappy day better. I so believe that. And I can't see the chat again, but those of you that have your first dog, I know how many of you in this particular class have not on your first dog, but I can tell you something. You don't know if that training session with that dog that day is going to be the last training session with that dog. You don't know. They get sick, they get hurt, and they get worse. So I do, honestly, that is part of my training program. This is this stuff, this figuring out my answers for my dogs is what I signed up for, man. It's what I signed up for. So the class time, did you guys read this math? The math on how long you actually are out there working your dog in class. So if you're in a class and not in a private lesson, even if you've been doing this a long time, boy, I recommend listening to the teacher. It seems like I'm at a place in my career where I don't work with folks that don't pay attention in class. But I've had my fair share. And then I was just explaining the same thing, even with very experienced handlers, because there was something that was unique to that setup, that I set it up that way. I designed the class and set up that trick to catch the handlers and the dogs with something that was seemingly easy that wasn't. So I'm sure none of you are not perfect class, are all perfect class students. Cut your treats up. Suzanne, I don't know if you're here or not, but you got to have your treats perfect. Your treats have to be perfect to have an efficient training session. You cannot have an efficient, dogs don't want you messing about with their cookie and it's not just about getting it in fast. It's about being efficient. And then there's the crumbs and, oh, could we someday just talk for a couple hours about treats? It's just my favoriteest subject, but just cut the damn string cheese up, please. And get a block instead. You won't have all those little things to open. And then if it doesn't roll, but it's a big deal, at least to me. And then being connected to the class flow. I talked about that already, and I think everybody knows that. I just said it hoping one or two people would read it when I was teaching big classes. Um, the energy in a class, I don't, what's it called? The class dynamics are this again, you guys, probably not a lot of you that have taught 10 to 15 classes a week for 30 years, and class dynamics are huge, and the people that negatively impact the class are not ever the ones that think that they are. And just keeping a good attitude and being Johnny on the spot with the bar setting and keeping the flow going, and um, yeah, it's partly the teacher's job too, but we're only human. It's a group effort. It really is. So pay attention to the instructor, even if it's not your turn, spoken like a true instructor. And uh, and don't be afraid to bring up you guys, I've had more than one student send me an email and say, you're spending too much time with that one person every week and I'm tired of it. And I've gotten the email of so and so never sets bars, and I'm not the only one tired of it. And you're paying good money to be there. And if there are things about your class that you think your instructor should be addressing, there is a kind and gentle way to do it. I have improved many classes by getting some gentle and not so gentle taps on the shoulders. So that, I like the line about there's, class in the parking lot. Doing your walkthrough wisely. Let's talk about that, because I think and it takes us pretty much to although there's a little bit at the end I want to talk to you before we go into questions. I was very pleasantly surprised when I didn't remember that the 3 phases of the walkthrough was born in this particular, or first published. I've been preaching it for years, but it's the first place it was published. So I want to talk a little bit about it, because it's one of those things that's in my training program that I came up with it and went, oh, this is great. This is going to help so many people. And I feel stronger and stronger and stronger about it every single year, that this is the way to go. And there's room for it being individualized as well. So that I call that phase 1 the Easter egg hunt, because that's what people look like when they're looking for the numbers in class. The instructors numbered a sequence, and everybody's going, where's 1, where's 4? So that's what I call the Easter egg hunt. But what happened in a trial, you have 8 minutes. You have 8 minutes, whether there's 5 people or 50 people. You have 8 minutes, whether you know the course or not. You have 8 minutes, whether you have 4 decisions you're stuck on or 1 or none. And there is just no way, if you can't get to phase 3 of the walkthrough with a certain amount of time. I'm not saying you're not going to be able to do the course. I'm saying you're not going to feel as good about it, and your success rate is going to, you guys, I've run courses where I didn't even walk it. I got there late. I missed the walkthrough. I grabbed the dog. There's 2 people ahead. They tell me what to do, cross my fingers, close my eyes, and make it through. And I've played it all ways where that wasn't the punchline. So, but what they do on the Easter egg hunt is they start figuring out their handling. They go to decision phase. They start doing the Easter egg hunt, and they see 1, 2, 3, 4, and they start making handling decisions. You cannot know where to lead out to. Maybe some courses, but definitely not all, unless you know where you need to be. I have a drill set up right now in the yard, and I couldn't tell, where do I lead out to? Well, here's your options, and you can get all of those if you're here, but there was something at 10. So for a fast dog or a slow handler, or the combination of the two, you had to steal a couple of feet on this move, a couple of feet on this move, a couple of feet on this move, or you weren't going to make what had to happen at 10, which was turn the dog into you instead of being on the lead he was to turn out because of the angle of the teeter, which was 11. So these people that stood and spent 6 minutes trying to figure out how to handle that opening, I just let them, because it's like, well, that won't work for 10. Well, I haven't got to 10. Yeah, I know. Get to 10. And you're going to, you guys just get the feel of it. So take 1 minute, literally. If you're at a trial, you've got a course map. Now, rumor on the street is they don't have course maps anymore. You're going to have to take a picture of it. So if you can't see the phone, you're going to have to get glasses, or you're going to have to get an iPad, or both. But I learn that course inside and out before I walk it. And by the time I walk it, I might have 2 decisions to make. So my Easter egg hunt or my follow the numbers is done before I hit that 8 minutes. And you guys, I have so many handlers that tell me I can't use a course map. I can't do it like that. I have to walk it. Let me teach you. Let someone teach you. Learn from somebody, because it is too valuable. That's like saying, oh, I can run on one leg. I don't need both. Nope, nope. You need both, and you need to learn your course beforehand. Watch your course being built. Go to every side of it and learn it as much as you can, so that when you hit that ring, you can go straight to those 2 trouble spots. There should only be 2. Usually the dog walk, always check, but usually there's one logical side. There's going to be one logical side, but all those jumps where it might be better to go to the left versus the right, or vice versa, that can all be figured out with a paper and pencil. You can just see the flow, and then you can decide, I want to be on my left for this part. I want to be on my right for that part. I don't see how to do it. Well, you only got so many ways to change sides. Just think it through. Usually I have handlers all the time say, well, I've never seen that. I'm like, well, what side is it ideal to be on? That side? The left. Well, what side is it on? The right. So you don't have a way to go, well, if not from over here, well, just think about it. What are the side change cues? A rear cross, a front cross, a blind cross, a Yako, and then work through them. That's decision making. So I want to have a full 5 minutes for this oh so important precision walkthrough. So that means I'm watching the clock. And if I get that, you guys will get to a spot where I just can't decide which way I want to handle it. And that's kind of fun, because that means I've got more than one way that I'm good at. I'm not limited to just one way. But if I get to that 5 minutes, I will force a decision down my own throat, and I will do that walkthrough. I want to go like a dress rehearsal, my head, my arms, my verbal cues. And I want to have 5 minutes to walk that from obstacle 1 to obstacle 20. Sometimes I walk obstacle 1 to obstacle 20 and there's 21, and that's a problem. If any of you have left off the last obstacle, if any of you have left off the last obstacle at nationals, get myself back on track here. It's because I want to rehearse that. One thing that really rocked my world, I've felt this way for years. You can tell what year the article was done. I think this 2016. That wasn't that long ago, but that's when it was published. I went to a One Mind seminar, and they showed a film. It was a lecture, and it was of a man walking a course, and he really looked like he had his dog. And then they showed simultaneously the same film with the film of him running the dog. And I thought, holy bejeebies. I thought I had a precision walkthrough. I was inspired to a whole new level. So when I see my students, even this week, walking a course, they're walking the course, and I'll say, has everybody made all their decisions? Yeah. And they're walking, and I'm like, so are you in decision phase or precision phase? And this week somebody said, I'm in mush phase. And we all laughed, because she realized she truly had made all her decisions. She knew what she was going to do, but she was not in that oh so important precision. Where will my eyes be? Where will they drop? Where will I say dig, dig, dig? Where will I say come? Where will his nose be? And to me, as a handler, that's your job. That's what you're planning, where you're going to give these well-rehearsed cues. You know, when my dog's nose crest pull 12, I want to be in this position with my hands here, my arms there, just like a honest to goodness dress rehearsal. So start thinking about giving yourself X amount of time to make your decisions and then go into your precision walkthrough. And I'm hoping that some of you have some questions about this. So, and then this part of the article down here where I said, use your private training time wisely. As I read it again, I was thinking the private time could be a private rental or a private lesson. As sometimes I go to give a private lesson and the student got there earlier and we come out to start the lesson and the dog's tongue is hanging down. And it's like, well, yikes, you wore him out a little bit. So, and then if you have your dog warmed up, if you get to class a little bit early, if you get to your lesson a little bit early, and you have the ability to warm your dog up, even just trotting him up and down. And then don't save the most difficult stuff for last. Get that hard stuff, the poles, the teeter, whatever your dog, it could be a preference too. You could think of hard as difficult in weak link in training or just not your dog's favorite, so that they're hitting that work mentally and physically ready for it, to work on those more demanding skills in the first half of the session. And sometimes you feel, sometimes you feel like you didn't have an agenda and a plan for your training session. You have to remain flexible. It's just your idea of what you wanted. Your dog may have a different idea of what the two of you need to work on. So hit your plan with a dash of flexibility added to it. Sweeping things under the carpet. And you guys, a lot of people say, well, I can't fix that. I'll get demotivated, or I can't teach that. You guys, lack of motivation is not equal to stupidity. The dogs can still be motivated and taught, and they can actually learn not in their highest motivated state. So a dog that lacks motivation may need to learn it on more of a natural, even keel, and then build that speed based on comprehension. So I see people say, well, I'm just going to skip that because he's too sensitive. Be sure, I'm not saying skipping something isn't sometimes the answer. It is. But it's back to that knowing how much skipping is to your benefit and how much skipping is going to cause a bigger problem than the one you already have. So can you see how thinking through all of this stuff could make for a much more efficient training session, whether you're in a class, in a private lesson, or alone? And then I like, heaven knows you're spending a boatload of cash and driving more than you would prefer and missing a movie or two with your sweetie. So you owe it to yourself to be an efficient trainer. So I'm going to stop the screen sharing and take your questions. Hey, Cindy. Yes, Leela.
One question I had is, I noticed that you didn't put anything in the article about homework and notes. And I wondered if there was any reason. I get private lessons, and thank you again for Stacy Campbell, that's worked out real well.
Good.
And I bring a notebook, and she actually draws in my notebook at the end and gives me things to work on till I come back next week. But I noticed you didn't have anything there. Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think it's a really good idea. A really good idea. I do all of that stuff that I was talking about, the analysis after the course, you know, thinking about what to do and when to do and what to practice. And a huge number of my students that come for privates, the beautiful thing about taking notes during a private lesson is that dog gets that break and the handler and the instructor get a chance to clarify. Because sometimes us instructors are just rattling off stuff, do this, do that, do that. And until a few of my students actually get to their notebook, and sometimes I'm like, what are you writing? Because it's like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Nope, 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 nope. So no, it's good. It should have been in the article. Would have been good to be, that it is part of being efficient. I'm not personally a big note taker. And when I do take notes, I don't look at them. And in my last article for Clean Run, I wrote a method for keeping tabs on skills that I think could be a really nice link between the note person that doesn't want to take notes and the person that needs that needs something written down. But it's great. It's great. Smart to do. Smart to do.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? Come on.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Kathy.
I do have a question. You know, it's been a while since we've been training all. And are people using their smartphones or something like that to, you know, have a friend film part of what you're teaching, so when they go back and practice, they'll remember what that is, you know, as kind of instead of notes? Or is there other ways, you know?
I have a student now that every lesson she has me do it with her dog.
Oh, cool.
She has, and she videotapes me working her dog. And, or sometimes if I'm making a point, I'll say, get your phone before I finish my sentence, and she'll tape it. And I never pushed the phones in my classes, the videotaping, but I'm telling you, nothing beats videotaping. I'll see stuff all the time, and you'll see expressions on your dog's face that you wouldn't notice. But I have one student, and we are very efficient. She has a notebook and a phone, and sometimes I even have her send me what she shot so that I can look at it too.
Yeah.
And you know who used to do a lot, filmed all their private lessons, was Tammy and Elena. Did you know them?
Yeah.
You know Tammy and Elena?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
They filmed everything.
Oh, wow. I wish I'd thought of that, but gosh, I'm not even sure I had a smartphone back then.
Back then, when we were barefoot and did agility in the snow.
Yeah.
I was going to say something. Oh, and you know, these sessions, as you can tell, I hope, this thinking about what to do when the dog asks questions, this is the same for me for sit stay at the back door or a recall at the park, or I mean, training is training is training. To me, agility is trick training. It's just tricks for treats. But I really want to understand what's going on with my dog. I want to think about that, and I might think about it so much in Leela, the taking of notes is what could help you remember. What do you get the most out of taking the notes?
Well, what she doesn't do it quite like that. What she does is at the end, she sits down with my notebook I hand her, and she draws what it is she wants me to work on. She makes little notes. She gives that to me. I take it home. So she's not doing it while the lesson's going on.
Got it.
But yeah, it's
so she'll draw a little diagram of how to set your obstacles.
Yeah, she does that. And also, you know, little notes to me like more reinforcement, you know, work on more reinforcement, little general things
so
too.
She's not leaving it up to you to decide what's important. I mean, that's good. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, no, she's using her expertise, given that I haven't got much. So it works out pretty well.
Good.
So yeah, and then I take it home and I use it. I mean, I'm amazed too sometimes, because the next day I see things in it and I'm like, oh, I don't remember that. I'm sure we practiced it, but you know, I think, well, I'm halfway through Alzheimer's.
Back to my nickel thing, it's like, well, I've never seen this before. I'm like, oh, yes, you have. You didn't get to excellent without having done that 100 times. Just looks a little different. Questions? Peggy, you have any questions for me?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Anybody else? It's going to be a going once.
Okay,
Christine, yeah?
got another one.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of us who haven't done, well, who have a dog who's, you know, like you say, even doing sit stays at the park or whatever. So remind us, what do we do when we say, you know, sit or whatever, and we're trying to keep the cue, just one cue, as you pointed out, that was really good point, that you don't want to just, you know, give them 6 different cues for the same thing. But what do you do if they don't do it? Do you?
It's a good question. Everybody gets frozen on the what do I do? And that's what I wrote to myself, like, what do I want to talk to? It's that what do I do question. And so Kathy, I've worked so hard since you've been in my classes to try to give people some little short thing to hold on to. So the first thing, the one word that you have to remember is always the answer to what do I do is teach. What do? I teach. So, and what gets everybody frozen is Sandy said, I can't give a second command.
Right. You remember that part.
So now I am frozen and paralyzed because my brain wants me to say sit again. So I'm going to do a little demonstration, okay?
Okay.
So Kathy, I'm going to put my hand on my head. And every time I do it, you're going to say, take your hand off. Okay, what's your line?
Take your hand off.
Okay, you ready?
Take your hand off. Take your hand off. Take your hand off. Take your hand off.
Okay, everybody got a feel for that? Okay, now I'm going to put my hand on my head and your line is going to be, don't do that. Okay?
Don't do that.
Oh. So you just told me,
New cue.
you just told me that I made a mistake or that you didn't want that. All the other times I was kind of into it. You were just giving me another, actually a reinforceable cue. If you liked it when I do what you tell me to do. So if you like it when I do what you tell me to do, and you're telling me to take my hand off, to me, there's no right or wrong there. I should be pleasing you. So when the answer to your question is you let the dog know that the getting up was a mistake. Because if you just say sit and the dog does it and the dog's like, I'm happy to sit, and the dog stands up and you say sit again and the dog goes, sure, you bet. And then the dog gets up again and you're like, okay, I bet you 10 I'll get a cookie. I'm just going to hang in there. I'm tired of getting up and down. So for you to mark, and what I love to do about is I say and then I wait. Because I'm so excited to see if the dog is going to go, there's something I need to fix, and then sit.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I can say that's a mistake, and he goes, well, what? Breathing, standing, turning my head, wagging my tail, what mistake? And I say, again, he goes, oh, no. Then he doesn't know sit. But if he goes, oh, yeah, shit, I forgot, and he sits, now you've got this next level of communication.
Mm-hmm.
The dog did something. You said, whoops, pal, you just made a mistake. And the dog goes, oh, yeah, I know. I'll fix my own mistake. And that's what gets me really excited.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Questions about that? Now, if you say, and he doesn't do it, because you mark the error, you get a hall pass to say sit again.
Okay.
You didn't repeat the command. You marked the error and you started over with the lesson. I prefer to gently put them into the sit.
Okay.
But I have no problem at all saying sit, dog sits, gets up or doesn't. Even if I say sit and they don't sit, I'll say,
Mhm.
ignoring the sit's a wrong answer too.
Right, right.
But if I don't tell them that they made a mistake, I don't know how strong their comprehension is in that environment with that level of energy. Have you ever tried to work sits on a dog that you just played ball with for 15 minutes? They're like, no,
Yeah,
I'm laying down now. I'm tired.
yeah.
What do you do then? Do you make them sit? Tongues hanging out this far? Anybody?
No.
Huh? Oh shit, I shouldn't have asked for a sit. I didn't realize how tired he was.
Yeah.
No, Kathy.
Well, you know me, I
Welcome back.
always feel so
No, you say, darn it, I shouldn't have asked, but I'm gonna get it for just a second. Because we can't live in this world where you're guessing if I really meant it. Because when the earthquake comes and the buildings are falling, I gotta know you'll come.
right.
I gotta know you gotta think you gotta do it no matter what. Forget agility. Yeah. So there are times where I wished I hadn't issued a command when I see what's really going on.
Mhm.
Recalling when my dog is interacting with another dog and I've just noticed that other dog is kind of dominating him, and I put my dog in this horrible position of having to turn their back on a dog that's saying, don't you move till I'm done inspecting you.
Yeah.
But that's a case where, so like the same with the sit, I noticed how tired he is. Recalling a drink of water is a classic too. I didn't notice they were going to get that drink of water. I'm not going to be mad at him. I'm just going to teach. What do I do? Teach. So he can barely stand up. His tongue's hanging out. He's been playing the ball. It's 105. Probably shouldn't have been throwing the ball either. I said sit. Darn it, I shouldn't have. Sorry, pal. You got to do it just for a second, and I'll release you right away. So there's ways and there's ways. Any other questions about that type of thing? If they're running to the water bowl, I called, no, no, come, get to me quick. Now go get your drink real quick. And I wouldn't correct them. So there's ways you can play it. Anybody else? Did that bring up anything for anybody?
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. It's good to see everybody. See you next week.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thanks. It's good to see. Did you see Cindy's in here? You know which Cindy that is, right? It's Cindy Cook.